So for the last act of the day, we have Manny Marrero. Manny is a mental health occupational therapist at Cape Cod Healthcare Centers for Behavioral Health. After 8 years in the Marine Corps and 2 tours of duty in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Manny moved back home from San Diego to Massachusetts. He attended Westfield State University, where he graduated cum laude with a bachelor's degree in kinesiology and sports medicine. He continued his education, earning a master's degree in occupational therapy from Bay Path University. In his free time, Manny volunteers and acts as a mentor through Big Brothers Big Sisters of Cape Cod. Later this month, Manny will be honored by Cape and Plymouth Business Magazine as one of the area's 40 under 40 for community leaders. Today, Manny will present on mindfulness and the benefits of staying in the moment. Without further ado, Manny.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? Wonderful. So first, I'd like to say thank you all for coming out on this Sunday afternoon, and thank you to the speakers, Emerald Physicians, Cape Cod Healthcare. Mindfulness is near and dear to my heart. It's helped me in my personal life, and it's also helped a lot of our patients at Cape Cod Hospital. So today, I'd like to share with you the benefits of staying in the moment, what mindfulness is, and furthermore, how simple it is to incorporate it into your everyday life. I'm going to teach you the 5-minute rule, and hopefully after today, everyone here will be a little more mindful. Okay. So we've been hearing a lot about mindfulness recently. It's becoming mainstream, and that's a good thing. So these are the definitions of mindfulness that I've gathered from my own personal experiences and also from mentors such as Jon Kabat-Zinn and so on and so forth. So mindfulness is basically the art of paying attention to the present moment, because our mind constantly likes to wander. With intention, openness, curiosity, and non-judgment. I'd like to put an emphasis on the non-judgment because, again, it is the nature of the mind to judge, and we often have to put an effort to be non-judgmental. Mindfulness involves observing thoughts and emotions from moment to moment without judging them. And also not becoming caught up in the thoughts themselves, just noticing thoughts as thoughts and bringing your attention back to the present moment. To be mindful is to experience each moment as it unfolds without distractions and just observing. And Jon Kabat-Zinn, who is local, I believe he has a home near Wellfleet. He started the Center for Mindfulness at UMass Medical School, and he has been credited with putting mindfulness on the map to the general public. And he had this to say about mindfulness: it's a way of befriending ourselves and our experiences from time to time. So why mindfulness? Why do we keep hearing about it? Why am I up here talking about it? Because stress is a factor in 5 out of the 6 leading causes of death. Heart disease being number 1, followed by cancer, stroke, lower respiratory disease, and lastly, accidents. So have any of you noticed driving around, people texting while driving? Most people cannot even pay attention to driving. They're so distracted with phones, with making phone calls, with GPS devices, that rear-end collisions have skyrocketed in the last 10 to 20 years since the introduction of smartphones. So it's really becoming a health epidemic, not only on the distracting part of it, but also our health as well, because stress, as we know, is detrimental to our physical health and our mental health. So the UN calls stress the 21st century health epidemic. And the big issue in medicine, and we are getting better in medicine with this, is that we've been treating the symptoms of stress, such as heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, and diabetes instead of the cause, which is usually stress itself. So the good news today is that through mindfulness, we can find stress reduction and we can find a healthier way of living. So these are just kind of to reiterate the point. Through mindfulness, you discover how to live in the present moment in an enjoyable way rather than worrying about the past or being concerned about the future. So think of taking a mental break to replenish the mind, to bring focus to the present moment, to bring arousal control when you're feeling stressed, to enjoy each moment as you walk, as you eat, as you're having a conversation with another individual. They say 40% of our day-to-day happens in autopilot, meaning that we default to our habits and our routines. And oftentimes, those habits aren't the healthiest. So through mindfulness, we can awaken to the present moment, notice that we shouldn't reach for that donut, notice how we respond to certain stressful situations, and take that moment to make the right decision and the healthy decision. And as I said earlier, mindfulness has gone mainstream. We have it in schools. I believe here on the Cape, Calmer Choice, which was started by an occupational therapist, woohoo, Fiona Jensen, and they've incorporated mindfulness in schools. Basically teaching young kids from a young age how to respond in a healthy way to stressful situations and how to relax no matter where you are. Hospitals, at Cape Cod Hospital, I've had the privilege to introduce mindfulness to the partial hospitalization program, to the inpatient psychiatric unit, to the cardiac rehab program, and also to the pulmonary rehab program. So now all of those, thank you. So there's a paradigm shift in healthcare now, thanks to pioneers like Dr. Siddhartha as well, to bring these healthy alternatives to medicine because we found that they truly do work. And Google, the company, they start before every meeting, they start with a 5 to 10 minute meditation because they found that it improves focus, people listen, and they tend to decrease any stress that they have in that moment. And also correctional facilities. We know that's a high stress facility, it's a high stress environment, and eventually these folks will be released into the general public, so they're teaching them great coping skills to manage their stressors once they're out. So it's all good stuff. So these are just some of the benefits. I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to relaxation, meditation, and mindfulness. But these are the most pertinent ones. And I have a little disclaimer up top is the benefits are profound, but the benefits are zero without practice. So again, I will teach you all how to incorporate this into your daily lives. So we know that mindfulness has been shown through multiple studies to decrease anxiety and depression symptoms, sometimes just as effective as medication. It has been shown to improve functioning, focus, help people that suffer from ADHD, and so on and so forth. Through cheek swabs, mindfulness has been shown to decrease stress levels of cortisol and adrenaline just moments after a meditation. Decrease muscle tension. So a lot of, through my studies and through my research, I found that a lot of chronic pain issues stem from inflammation. And the root of inflammation tends to be muscle tension oftentimes. So through decrease in muscle tension, decrease in inflammation, you have less physical pain. And it can also improve sleep quality. Little relaxation before bed, 5-minute breathing meditation can improve our quality of sleep. So how do we incorporate it into our daily lives? So you don't have to be the Dalai Lama, that's the good news. But there are formal practices of meditation and mindfulness, such as There's movement meditation, such as yoga, which is a formal mindfulness meditation. There's sitting practices, body scan meditations, finding a quiet space to just breathe. These are more formal practices of mindfulness. Informal practices are just everyday awareness, awareness of the body, the state of your mind, your emotions, not getting caught up in the emotions or your thoughts. And it can be practiced in everyday activities such as eating, walking, working, and pretty much anything. When it comes to eating, we oftentimes have a lot of distractions going on. We have the television going, maybe we're on the computer multitasking. And what they found was when we're distracted and we're eating, we tend to overeat and make unhealthy choices. Through mindful eating, you taste more and you eat less. And oftentimes when you're mindful about your eating choices, you make a healthier decision. I had the pleasure to attend a 5-day silent meditation retreat back in November of last year. And it changed my life. Just eating in silence without distractions. And I remember the Zen Buddhist monk saying, chew your food 50 times. I was like, 50 times? And I tried, and it was like liquid by like chew number 30, right? So I got caught up in the number, and he goes, the number doesn't mean anything. I just wanted you to chew your food quite a bit because it helps with your digestion. So it's like, they have these little tricks of the trade. Working in silence, we found that we tend to enjoy our chores more when we're mindful and when we don't have distractions. It was just life-changing. If you ever have a chance to do it, I highly recommend it. You learn a lot about the patterns of your own thoughts and how to cope with anything that arises. And I'd like to leave you with another thing I learned at the silent meditation retreat was that everything, when it comes to emotions and thoughts, it's temporary. So if you just let those strong emotions pass, you will feel better eventually. So my 5-minute rule. All it takes is just 5 minutes, because when you start with 5 minutes, you build up from it. There's a snowball effect. So think of first thing in the morning, when you open your eyes, what do you like to do? Do you reach for the phone? Do you start thinking about your to-do list? Do you start running down your agenda and all the things you have to do in your emails? Or do you just take that 5 minutes to just breathe, let your body relax, and take a moment to just be? Again, it can set up your day for relaxation, and it can set up your life for a life of calmness and equanimity. Or 5 minutes before you go to bed. Think of if your mind's racing once it hits the pillow, that's a perfect time to just focus on the breath. Relax the body, release tension. It can do wonderful things for you. And then I like to say once you do 5 minutes, you'll see the benefits and you're more likely to incorporate longer periods of mindfulness throughout your day. Harness the power of a relaxing routine, either in the morning or before bed. So these are the 4 easy steps to mindfulness, and you can access this pretty much wherever you are and whatever you're doing. It's just a good reminder. It's a nice little acronym that can just give you that insight to, hey, bring my attention to the present moment. So the R is for recognize. Just tune into the present. I mean, some of you may have lost attention throughout this talk, and then you noticed your mind wandering and you were able to bring it back. Mind, body, and environment, tuning in to what's happening in the moment. Acceptance is paramount. When we do not accept and there's aversion present, stress happens. And that can turn into suffering. So accepting yourself where you are, body sensations, thoughts, the moment, can help you immensely. And that is the foundation of mindfulness, acceptance. Just noticing, is aversion present? I have a pain in my back. I don't like it. Why is this pain in my back? Then it can turn from pain into now I'm upset about the pain in my back. That can turn into suffering. So accepting the pain, doing something healthy in that moment for the pain, and not turning pain into suffering can be very helpful. So that's just kind of like a little explanation of acceptance. Investigate, curiosity. What insight can I gain and appreciation from this moment, from the nature of my mind and my body? And lastly, non-judgment, which is compassion to yourself, compassion towards others, and not labeling things as good or bad or criticizing. For example, the person that cuts you off in traffic. Oftentimes, we are quick to say, what a jerk. Or can you access compassion in that moment and say, maybe they're on their way to the hospital, their loved one's in an emergency room. Maybe not, but just accessing compassion in that moment can take the stress off of you and just give you a different outlook on life. And Sharon Salzberg said it best, mindfulness isn't difficult, we just need to remember to do it. So I found this interesting and I wanted to put it up here because this gives us a synopsis of the difference between a mindful response and a distress reaction, or as they like to call it, a mindless response. So there's a stressful event. We have a choice. Believe it or not, we always have a choice to have a mindful response or a mindless response. So a mindless response consists of judging. It's based on opinion. It attaches to thoughts as real. There's avoidance going on. There may be a struggle. I don't like this stressful event. The aversion can cause more stress. We may get lost in reaction, feelings of overwhelming, catastrophic thinking, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas the mindful response would be, the stressful event happened, okay, I have a choice to respond in a healthy way. And we start to access facts. Bring awareness. What can I do in this moment? Do I need to call someone? We start to think in a more clear and alert way, calm, effective, with a clear sense of awareness. Now, with a consistent mindfulness practice, we can access this. Mindfulness has been called an exercise for the mind. So every time you notice yourself mind wandering, you bring your attention to the breath, you're doing a cognitive exercise for your frontal lobe. And therefore, your frontal lobe, which is that thinking part of our brain that's responsible for judgment, good decisions, overrides the emotional part of our brain, the default network, where we are more emotional and tend to respond in a mindless way. So we have the physical exercise down. Now this is the mental exercise. And there's also ways to bring mindfulness into our communication. Mindful listening, again, we have a lot of distractions today. I constantly see people out to dinner on their phones. There's someone talking to them. They're just scrolling through social media. So mindful listening is the opposite of that. It's being present. And when you listen mindfully, your focus is on the person you're listening to without distractions. And there's a reason why it's difficult to listen, because we can listen at up to 500 words a minute. But the average person talks at up to 250 words per minute. So our mind likes to fill in the rest of those words. So it takes effort. It takes a lot of effort to truly listen. And mindful listening helps you cultivate empathy, because we often see the world through the lens of our own past experiences, beliefs, traumas, etc., where empathy is understanding a situation from someone else's point of view. And then mindful speech. When speaking mindfully, one is gentle and thoughtful, and it's about speaking without fears or insecurities getting in the way of our speech and our message that we're trying to convey. A lot of politicians can use this nowadays, right? So these are some of the personal insights I have gained from my own practice, from getting personal accounts of patients that have come up to me and said, you know, this little meditation practice has helped me a great deal. And these are some personal insights gained. I've been able to recognize thoughts and emotions are temporary, and they do not define who you are. Self-awareness gained from being mindful can provide powerful insight that can decrease negative thought patterns and unhealthy behaviors. And just a breath, just a moment before reacting can make a positive difference to our perception, compassion, and awareness. And lastly, the power of acceptance. And acceptance doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean you're okay with certain negative situations that have happened. But acceptance is a way of moving forward from the situation. Acceptance is the birthplace of healing. It's the birthplace of gratitude, hope, empowerment, and creativity. It's the opposite of being stuck in a cycle of worry, stress, and suffering. So prior to 1999, there were only 40 scientific peer-reviewed research articles on mindfulness. Last time I checked, there are about over 6,000 now. And John Kabat-Zinn and the UMass Medical School and the Center for Mindfulness, they've done a great job in really putting the research behind the practice. And in this study, they went to a highly stressful biotech company, and they split individuals into two groups. And they told this group to go about your daily life, just keep doing what you're doing. And this other group, they said, we're going to give you the mindfulness-based stress reduction curriculum. So you're going to meditate, you're going to access mindfulness as much as possible, and so on and so forth. And then after the study, they did brain scan pre and post. So after 8 weeks, the people who did the mindfulness training had greater activation in a part of the brain called the left prefrontal cortex. Again, it's the thinking part of our brain, and it's also the left prefrontal cortex, the part associated with emotions, well-being, and acceptance of our experience. So those folks described themselves after the mindfulness-based stress reduction as more interested in their work, more excited. They felt strong, they felt active, alert, and enthusiastic about their work at the biotech company. Whereas the folks who did not participate in mindfulness-based stress reduction associated feelings of nervousness, they were more scared, upset, distressed, and afraid because it's a highly stressful environment. So the evidence is clear on that study. And this study fascinated me when I came across it. And what they did was they studied the brains of veterans who were exposed to combat. And they had them do a mindfulness-based stress reduction course. And after the fact, they did brain scans. And what they found was their amygdala, which is the region of the brain associated with fear and emotion, had less gray matter. It actually shrunk in size. So there can be physical, neurobiological changes just from meditation and mindfulness. So now we're going to do a little meditation practice together. After all this good news, I invite everyone to please make sure your cell phones are off. It's only a 5-minute mindfulness meditation practice, but that ringing cell phone can be very distracting in that moment. So this meditation practice is pretty much identical to the type of meditation practices that I do with my patients at Cape Cod Hospital and they've told me, hey, I should start recording them because they love them so much. So maybe I will. Stay tuned. So the first meditation is very simple. Just paying attention to your breath. You're not trying to change anything in the moment. You just accept where you are and bring your focus to your breath. I will guide you through this meditation. The first thing I suggest we should all do is ground our feet, so feet flat on the floor, and relax your body. You can start with your shoulders and move all the way down to your toes. Just sit heavy into your chair and feel your body sitting against your chair and your feet flat on the floor. So let's take a moment to take a nice deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale, releasing any tension in your body that you may notice. And this is your time to let go and relax. And throughout this practice, you may notice your mind wandering, and it's natural for your mind to wander. If you do notice it, just bring your attention back to your breath. And just notice your breath, the inhale and the slow exhale. Just bring your attention to the muscles of your face. Start to relax all of the muscles in your face, starting at the top of your forehead, down to your jaw. Bringing a soft relaxation to the muscles of your face. Now bring your attention to the muscles of your neck. Bring in gentle awareness, noticing if you find any tension here, and relaxing your neck. And bring your attention to your shoulders, just noticing what's here. And see if you can allow your shoulders to just fall heavy into your body. Bring your awareness now to your arms and hands, allowing your arms and hands to soften and relax. Bring gentle awareness to your chest and torso, allowing your chest and torso to relax. And just take a moment to notice if your mind wandered off, and bring your attention back to the present moment. Breathing in relaxation and exhaling any tension or stress you may be feeling. Now bring awareness to the muscles in your hips and your upper legs, allowing them to soften and relax. Now bring attention to your calves, just noticing what's here, and allowing your calves to relax. Just take a moment to notice your breath and your body. Now bring your attention to the muscles of your feet and toes, allowing your feet and toes to soften and relax. Now bring awareness to your entire body, allowing your entire body to soften and relax. And just notice how good it feels to just be. The present moment is safe and the present moment is calm. And when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can gently open them. Start to wiggle your fingers and toes and bring your awareness back to this room. Thank you. Any questions?
Hi, I work with the young people and starting from like 1 and 2 in one of my things. They're constantly fighting over who's got the electronic wars, games to play, and they're all violent, or they want their mother's cell phone, or I come in and it's very quiet and everybody has their own game and iPads. What is that going to do to our children's minds? I find that they're more they'll say, well, that's the good and the bad people fighting each other. And some of these television programs that are on, starting at the age of 2, the subliminal messages are horrible, and the parents don't even realize it.
Sure.
Your opinion.
Right. Well, I've read some fascinating articles about what these electronics, these phones, iPads, does to the developing brain of a child, and none of it is good. What it does, it clearly decreases their attention span and the natural progression of the development of their brain. I read something recently that said our attention span is actually decreasing. I believe it's now 7 seconds for the average person in our country, whereas they've done studies where goldfish can hold attention for 9 seconds. So it's getting pretty bad. And I just imagine, growing up with these devices, it's not a good thing. Kids are having too much screen time, and they certainly need to go on a diet when it comes to screen time. And that's just my opinion on that. But yeah, it's the research points to it's not good for the developing brain of the child. Yeah. That's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you offer a mindfulness session, a class, or is there anybody that you recommend?
I don't offer one yet. I do offer quite a bit at Cape Cod Hospital. I don't have anyone I recommend, but there are a plethora of resources on the Cape and different places that offer mindfulness and meditation. The senior centers offer meditation, chair yoga, and so on and so forth. I know the Harwich Community Center, they have a weekly meditation group. I did join their group one time, and it was fascinating, and I learned a lot. So I would check with the senior centers first. There's certain yoga studios that have workshops, and et cetera. So, yeah.
I was just curious if your amygdala is shrinking and you have less of a fight or flight response, depending on your environment, don't you sometimes need that not to be diminished?
Absolutely. So what happens when someone is exposed to repeated traumas is that the amygdala and the system that governs your fight or flight becomes maladaptive. So it gets triggered quite easily when it probably shouldn't get triggered. So certainly you do need your amygdala if you come across a bear and so on and so forth, but you don't need it to trigger you every hour on the hour because you've been exposed to repeated traumas. So yes, we do need it. I don't want to demonize the amygdala. It's there for our survival, but it can become maladaptive through repeated traumas, yes. So the shrinking of it is good.
All right, well, thank you so much, Manny. That was
Thank you.
very, very useful.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I mean, I think we will be taking a break during the next couple of months during summer for this Wellness Trails events. We will start back again in September for the next event. And we'll be sending out a survey for all the attendees, so please take time to fill out. We always look for the input so that we can see how we can keep doing this in a better way. So, yeah, thank you so much and have a good day.